And the problem with these election cases is that the judges are afraid of them. I really think they're afraid of them. We have some significant developments in our case over the counting of ballots that arrive after Election Day in Mississippi. And similar developments, or similarly important developments up in Illinois. I did a quick summary video, and this gets to the heart of it. Let's play that. Big case for Judicial Watch next month before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We're trying to stop the counting of ballots that arrive after Election Day in Mississippi. They count ballots that arrive for up to 5 days after Election Day. Brazen violation of federal law, which sets an election day, not an election week, not an election month. Invites voter fraud, undermines voter confidence. So that case is set for next month, expedited review. Hopefully we get that law shut down and freer and fairer elections. In the meantime, we're up in Illinois. Believe it or not, in Illinois, they count ballots that arrive for up to 14 days after Election Day. 14 days. Now, that case, we may have to take up to the Supreme Court. But all of this shows that Judicial Watch is your ally for freer and fairer elections. We're fighting in courts in Illinois and in Mississippi, courts across the nation, to ensure that elections are fair, clean, and honest. And this is what that Mississippi case is about. I had a little summary from a few months back when we first sued in Mississippi. Hey everyone, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton here with some big news. We have a civil rights lawsuit for Mississippi voters who object to that state's counting ballots for up to 5 days that arrive, absentee ballots, after an election. Federal law allows for an election day, not an election week. We also have a lawsuit in Illinois where they count ballots that arrive for up to 14 days after an election, even without a valid postmark. I tell you, counting ballots after Election Day is a great way to invite fraud. It undermines confidence in the elections. Plus, it's downright illegal. I tell you, maybe I should just play these videos because it really does summarize what the situation is well. And I guess I'll go into a little more detail for you now. But again, it's Judicial Watch with the heavy lifting on this core election issue. It's not just in Mississippi and Illinois do they count ballots that arrive after Election Day. There are 18 states, the District of Columbia, some of the island territories also do it. In D.C. here, for instance, they count ballots that arrive for 7 days after Election Day. Other states are 10 days. I think California is 7 days. And as I say, federal election law is really quite specific, but importantly, the reason the law is there and needs to be enforced is because it undermines confidence in the elections. I mean, you know how many votes you need to win, in theory, and what an inducement for fraud. So it greatly increases the likelihood of fraud, the appearance potentially of fraud, because of the mere counting after an election day is sketchy. It's sketchy. There's nothing normal about it. And they tried to tell us it was normal in 2020, and it never had been done before like that in 2020, where you had Election Day counts of a candidate winning on, for instance, Election Day. I mean, if the ballots that were counted on Election Day had Trump winning, and those results were changed as a result of unprecedented counting that took place after Election Day. And to the degree that counting included ballots that arrived after Election Day, it was egregiously illegal. At least that's my view. So we had this case in Mississippi, and the lower court judge just not that long ago, he basically just blew it. With all due respect, he said there was no merit here for our client's concerns. I mean, the way the judge wrote his decision, it looks like states could do whatever they want. Why 5 days? Why not 10 days? Why not 30 days? Why not up until January 5th? Or in the case of Congress, January 1st or 3rd. I don't know when the official results get certified for purposes of seating in Congress. Congress, actually, now that I think about it, Congress, it could be forever in a day. I exaggerate, but you know, disputes about congressional elections go on for sometimes a year or two after Election Day because Congress adjudicates in the end who wins or loses. So who knows? Maybe they can just keep on allowing ballots to come in forever until the next election, right? I mean, it may sound absurd, but if there is no Election Day deadline, then what is the deadline other than the one set by federal law? It's a civil rights lawsuit, by the way, we filed, because it's an attack on the voting rights of citizens lawfully voting. Under federal law, and this is what our lawsuit argued, the first Tuesday after the first Monday in the November of every even-numbered year is Election Day for federal elections. Congress recently affirmed a single national election day when it enacted the Electoral Count Reform Act. Under the recent congressional amendments, no extension of Election Day shall be allowed unless there are force majeure events that are extraordinary and catastrophic that justify extension. Despite Congress's unambiguous and long-standing statement regarding a single and uniform national election day, Mississippi extended Election Day by allowing 5 additional business days after Election Day for receipt of absentee ballots. No force majeure events that are extraordinary and catastrophic currently exist in Mississippi to justify extending the ballot receipt deadline for the November 5th, 2024 election, federal election for presidential and vice presidential electors. Counting untimely, illegal, and invalid votes, such as those received in violation of federal law, substantially increases the pool of total votes cast and dilutes the weights of votes cast by plaintiffs' members and others in support of plaintiffs' federal nominees. So invalid votes counted undermine the validity or the weight of valid votes. That's what's the civil rights issue at issue here. And thankfully, the Fifth Circuit granted the request of Judicial Watch attorneys, and I think the Republican National Committee is also suing. There were 2 separate lawsuits, so they were before the same court, consolidated. And they'll be hearing this. When is they set the date for the hearing? September 24th. So hopefully the Fifth Circuit grapples with this. In Illinois, it's really scandalous what's happened, and I'll talk about Illinois in greater detail in a future update. And we just got a ruling the other day. It was 2-to-1 split at the appellate level, so 3-judge panel. So for those of you, I'm not a lawyer, but I'll explain the court process to you as it relates to this as best as I'm able. We filed a lawsuit in the district court, federal district court, which is generally speaking 1 judge. Here's the case, they make the decision, and if you don't like that decision, you can appeal it to the appellate court, which is where this is. And the lower court ruled that our clients didn't have standing to challenge these rules. In Illinois, they count ballots that arrive for 14 days after Election Day. 14 days after Election Day. One of our clients is Congressman Bost out in Illinois, a federal candidate, and both the lower court and 2 judges on the appellate panel said he doesn't have standing to challenge what he alleges to be illegal counting of votes. It's absurd. It's scandalous to really say that. And it's, and the problem with these election cases is that the judges are afraid of them. I really think they're afraid of them. We saw that in 2020. Judges were afraid of the election cases, and they thought of ways to avoid ruling on them on the merits or in a substantive way that would have brought criticism of them. Because you rule one way, you're going to get criticism from those who are on the losing side. I mean, I say this somewhat excuse me. I say this somewhat jokingly. Sound like a Bugs Bunny character. 2020, they were telling people, oh, it's too soon to challenge these election rules if they were filed before Election Day. And then after Election Day, they said, oh, it's too late. So it was catch-22. And so the courts were fearful, and I think, fell down on the job, from the lower courts to the Supreme Court in handling the 2020 election disputes. I mean, the left likes to say there were 60 cases. They come up with these silly numbers that are irrelevant to the substance of the election disputes, pretending that every case was thrown out on the merits and no one found any fraud. The problem was the key cases related to allegations of election improprieties, certainly brought by the Trump campaign. I'm not aware any of them were ever adjudicated on the merits. So the courts failed, and I hope they don't fail again. I really don't. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.